Good morning, scholars. Today we're going to continue our way through Herodotus Book 1, looking at the second half of chapter 24. This is the conclusion of the incident between Arion and the Dolphin. Tonde indunta te pasan ten skuen, kai la bonta ten gitaran. Standa entoise hedolioise di ex elden nomon ton ordion. Teleuto dos de tu nomu, ripsai men esten dalasan heuton, hos eke sun te skue pase. Kai tus men apopleen es Corinthon. Tonde delpina leguse, hupolabonta ex anegai epi tainaron. Apobanta de auton coreen es Corinthon sun te skue. Kai apigomenon apege estai pan to gegonos. Periandron de hupo apistias, Ariona men impulake eken, udame metienta. Anakos de eken ton portmeon. Hoste ara pa enai autus, cletentas, Histore estai ete legoien peri Arionos. Pamenon de egenon hos te sos peri Italien, kai men eu presonta lipoien in Taranti, epipanenai spe ton Arion hospe ekon exebedese. Kai tus ec plagentas, uc ecen ete elencomenus arne estai. Tauta menun Corinthioi te kai lesbioi leguse, kai Arionos este anathema calgeon umega in dinaroi. Epidelpinos epeon anthropos. Okay. Tonde indunta te pasan ten skuen, kai labonta ten gitaran, stanta in toisi edolioise, di exelten nomon ton ortion. Teleuontos de tu nomu, ripsai men esten dalasan he outon, hoseke sun te skue pase. So, induo is to put on clothes. Nomos ho ortios is a traditional ode to Apollo. Ripsai, of course, is the first aorist infinitive of riptho, to throw, and hos eke, just as he was. So, tonde eduonta te pasan ten skuen, kai labonta ten gitaren, stanta in toisi hedolioise, di exelte nomon ton ortion. Teleuontos de tu nomu, ripsai men esten dalasan heuton, hoseke sun te skue pase. Kai tus men apopleen es Corinthon. Donde delpina legusi, hupolabonta ex anekai epi dinaron. Apobanta de auton coreen es Corinthon, sun te skue, kai apikomenon apegestai pan to gegonos. So apopleo is to sail away. Hupolambano is to catch or pick up. Apobino, of course, is to dismount. Koreo is to travel. Apegeomai, apageomai is to relate or tell. So, kaitusmen, apopleen es corenton, tonde delpina leguse, hupolabonta exene kai epi dynaron. Apobanta de auton, coreen es corenton, sun te skue, kai apikomenon apege estai, pan to gegonos. Periandron de hupo apistias, Ariona men impulake eken udame, metienta. Anacoste eken ton portmeon. Hoste ara pa enai autus. Cletentas historia estai eti legoen peri Arionos. So apistia is skepticism or disbelief. Metianai is to release prisoners. Anakoseken, with a genitive object, is to give heed to, look out for, sort of. Cleithentas, of course, is the aorist passive participle of kaleo, to call. And historeomai is to inquire or to ask. So, periandron de hupoapistias, Ariona men un pulake eken udame metienta. Anacoste eken ton portmeon. Hoste ara pa enai autus, cletentas, historia estai ete legoyen peri Arionos. Pa menon de ekenon, hos ea te sos peri Italian, kai men eu brasonta lipoyen in Tarante, epipane nais fe ton Ariona, hospe ekon exepede se. So, sos is safe, eu prasein is to be fine and well. Epipanenai is to show oneself. And hospe ekon, exactly as when, of course, construed closely with exepede se, to leap out the boat, or exepedao, to leap out the boat. So, bamenon de ekenon, hos eates pos, peri Italian, kai men eu presonta lipoyen in Tarante, epipane naispe ton Ariona, hospe ekon exepede se. Kai tus ek plagentas, uk eken eti elenkomenus arne estai. Tauta menun Corinthioi te kai lesbioi leguse, kai Arionos este anathema kalkeon, u mega epi dynaroi, epi delpinos epe on anthropos. So, ek plagentas is a second aorist passive participle. To be bewildered. Elenkomai, Here passive is to be refuted. Arne estai, to deny. And ukekain here in this sense with the infinitive. They were not able ete, still, or they were not able any longer, having been, since they were refuted, to deny what they'd done. Kai tus ek plagentas uk eken ete elen komenus arne estai. Anathema, of course, is a statue, and epeme, or epeon, is the participle, present participle, masculine singular, of epemi, to be upon. But there's also a proposed reading of neighbor, hipeuon, wherein we have a stronger representation of Arion actually riding the dolphin like a horse, as is actually found in certain portraits, as you will see, or as we have seen. So, Kaitus ek plagentas uk ekeneti elenkomenus arne estai dauta menun Corinthioi te kai lesbioi leguse kai Arionos este anathema kalgeon u mega epe danairoi epidelpinos epeon anthropos. Okay, so the whole thing again, and the particles are pretty straightforward here. We have the, tonde, and then the second sentence, announcing Arion as the subject, and then Kaitus men. Oh, I didn't mark the men. It switches to the boatmen. And then, I guess most interesting is in sentence 7, where we get hos de ara, pa enai autus. This de ara, we've seen ara in in Homer, where it kind of is an eyebrow raising, kind of like voila, the finale of the whole situation when they finally arrive. Host de ara par enai. But otherwise, the particles here are pretty straightforward, doing what we expect them to do. So tus de endunta te pasan ten skuen, kai labonta ten kitaran, stanta in toisi edolioise, diexelten nomon ton ortion. Teluton tos de tu nomu, ripsai men esten talasan heuton, hoseken sun ten skue pase. Kai tus men apopleen es corinton, tonde delpina leguse hupolabonta ex anekai epitainaron. Apobanta de auton corein es corinton, sun te skue, kai apogomenon apege estai panto gegonos. Periandron de hupo apistias ariona men impulake eken udame metienta. Anakos de eken ton portmeon. Hos de ara pa enai autus, kletentas historie estai ete legoen peri arionos. Pamenon de ekenon, hos ea de sos peri italien, kai men eu presonta lipoien en tarante. Epipanenais fit ton ariona, hospe ekon exepedese. Kai tus ek plagentas, uk eken eti elengomenus arne estai. Tauta men nun Corinthi oi te kai lesbi oi leguse, kai arionos este anathema kalkeon ou mega epidaniroi epidelpinos epeon anthropos. Okay, so let's again remind ourselves of the geography of this incident. We have Arion having hung out in Corinth, but decides to do a musical tour of Italy and Sicily to make some cash. He has his cash, and he comes back, wants to go back to Corinth, and he starts off from Tarentum, which you see at the heel of Italy, heel of the boot of Italy, and it was a Spartan colony, but he doesn't trust Spartans. He wants to go with a Corinthian crew, and he has his little adventure at the hands of these not so ethical boatmen. Okay, so here's a wonderful picture which follows the notion of hypeuon, actually riding the dolphin like a horse. Of course, we have a naked figure here instead of, as Herodotus tells us, with all of his garb, and of course he's playing musically with the on his flute. I wish someone could tell me what the beads around the neck are symbolizing, but a wonderful, wonderful picture. So I want to conclude this by just reading what Professor Asiri in his commentary has to say about this incident. So he says on page 91, the mention of Periander in chapter 20 leads by association to the famous tale of Arion, included here for no other purpose than to celebrate a marvelous event illustrating the mutability of fortune, a main moral message of the story of Croesus, in which this digression is embedded. The ordinary reader could not have detected the alleged parallels with this story of Alietes. For style and structure, see Borgono in blah blah blah. Wonderful references, of course. Okay, Herodotus could have invented the Corinthian and lesbian sources, but not the statue at Cape Taenarum. For the theory that the story was told by the poet himself in a dithyramb or in some early form of tragedy, see blah blah blah. This monument, with or without inscription, and whether it was an Aition of the story or had been inspired by it, must have existed before Herodotus. Other legends of people saved or guided by dolphins circulated in seafaring cities such as Corinth, Methymna, and Tarentum. There is no lack of representation on local coins. Various mythological and popular themes contributed to the creation of such legends. That the dolphin was sacred to Apollo and to other divinities, that he was a friend of sailors and fishermen, and fascinated by music. A possible and very general thematic connection with Eastern legends cannot be proven. He's referring to the story of Jonah and the whale. To claim the truth of this story for modern observations of the behavior of dolphins in New Zealand is no more than an amusing fantasy. Though a boy can pirouette on a dolphin's back for a half an hour, he cannot circumnavigate half of the Peloponnese on a dolphin. Okay, so whatever one might think, this is a truly miraculous story, and it's very amusing to realize how Herodotus, with the succession of stories that we see in these opening chapters has slowly pulled the rug out from us with regard to any, we might say, positivistic view of the world. If you consider the paid back of Gyges, if you consider Aleuates getting sick after the temple of Athena burns down, and now this marvelous story, he's slowly involving us in the mythological universe of his particular brand of storytelling that, of course, Thucydides wanted to cast contempt, look up on with contempt in his statement of purpose in the histories. But nevertheless, this is what makes Herodotus so marvelous, this mythological world where all these cracks to the miraculous can shine upon human experience and illuminate it as to why and what being possible. Okay, so we are very close to completing our run-up to the Croesus story, and I hope that folks will join as supporters on Patreon so that you can follow along with the main narrative of Croesus as I explicate it for my sponsors. Okay, have a good day and be well. See you again soon.